Julie here with another quilt block, and actually Julie from Just Plain Fun with another quilt block that is done in the quilt as you piece method. Here's the back, here's the front, and today the way I'm going to show you how I make this is I'll take you through this section here, and since it's so repetitive, I do this section off camera and show it to you, that part completed, and then I do this part off camera and then show you it completed, and I cut it on camera. So let's get started, but before that I'm going to tell you a little something about the batting that I used in this project. Okay, hang on just a second. Since I'm going to be making this type of block that doesn't use strips of fabric, and I won't be using the strips of batting, and I won't be using this strips of batting, what I've decided to do is I have some regular batting that is from the same manufacturer, and this is what I'm going to be using this time. And I will put a an affiliate link on my website to link to this particular batting. It's the same exact size, I mean not the, it's the same exact fiber content, so it's okay to use it in this particular quilt. And this happens to be a queen size, even though to me that's kind of, I buy according to how much I think I'm going to need. That's why I have both the rolls and the queen size. All right, let's get back to the pot pattern. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to determine our pieces. Now the pieces are listed on this piece of paper down below, and you're going to cut them in whatever order you want. And I've already done that. Have all my pieces ready to go. So, and I'm going away from what I've been doing over the past 7 videos, doing different fabrics altogether. And so I've made all of my pieces bigger than they actually need to be. Like this is a little bit bigger so that I can quilt it the way I want it to be done, and then I can trim it down to the size that it needs to be. And I've already drawn all of my quilting lines, so I can go ahead and just get this started. So let me go ahead and do that. You're going to need liquid glue, and you're going to need washable glue stick, and the liquid glue is Elmer's School Glue, and this is washable glue stick, and this is what I use to keep these batting pieces together. You can use fusible batting, there's no problem there, and in fact it works really, really well. But this particular batting matches the batting that I've been using all along, so I'm going to stay with that because it's the same fiber content, the same manufacturer, and that is actually very important. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the batting on the fabric. Make sure that this, for the center square, the size of the batting, the backing, and the front are all the same. And then you press it down to heat set it. And like I said, this is oversized, so I can cut it down to the size it needs to be after it's quilted, because as you know, some quilting will make it shrink a little bit. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the first 2 or 3 steps, and then because you basically do the same thing over and over and over again, I will just show you what it looks like at the end of each section after I show you this initial method of doing this. This is for people who have never watched any of my videos. This method is called Quilt as You Piece, and basically it's a way of making quilt blocks that can be joined together as if you were doing a quilt as you go block, if you've ever heard that before. This is not traditional quilt making. Okay, this is air soluble marking pen that I use to draw these lines. They will not stay there even with heat applied. They will disappear. It might take a week depending on how much you use on it. So I'm going to go ahead and go quilt that, and I'll be right back. It's been quilted. Now it's time to go ahead and trim it down. And I'm going to put this pad aside. And I've got my little ruler that I'm going to use. See, I know what size it needs to be, so I'm going to line this up where it needs to be. And it's going to take me just a second here. I'm going to trim it off. And because I made sure that my quilting lines were centered, then I'm going to try to keep them centered. All right, almost there. Let's try it this way. I don't technically really like this ruler, but that's okay. Okay, that will do. Okay, the next step, in my previous videos I have done stay stitching around it, but I'm not going to bother with the center. It'll be okay. So the next step is to start adding the triangles. And you want to do one at a time, and you want to do the opposite ones. For example, opposite ones. You want to do one side first, and then the other side. So let's take care of that. And the way I do this is I got to mark the center. Mark the center of the triangle and mark the center of the square. And you can get this pattern from my website for 20,000 points or for $1.99 if you're not a paid member and don't want to sign up. You can just go ahead and get it. And I want to mark both sides simply because this is Quilt As You Piece, where I'm doing a double-sided quilt block right from the word go. And then I'm going to mark the center of my triangle. Make sure I'm on the correct side. And I do this by folding it in half, making a crease, and I'm going to draw right down on the crease so I can see it, line it up. Now I did this 12 triangles is similar to the diamond in a square block, where it's just this center square and then one round of the triangles. I did a wedding quilt. Well, it was a quilt for a wedding, and it had all the blocks around the center panel were the diamond in a square. So I've done a lot of them. Okay, then you press this down. And one thing to note, the quilting lines that I did, the stitch length is 3.0, and it's because I'm quilting through 3 layers. And it works really well. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing with the other fabric, fold that in half. Actually, technically, all I have to do is line it up with the previous triangle, and it'll be good. Even though I did mark the center. All right, I'm going to face this toward me so I can see it really well. Just line up the triangle with the other triangle, and you'll be good. You'll be centered. Now, I made that quilt in 2019, so it's been, over a year since I made that. 2 years. It's been 2 years since I made that quilt. So it'll all come back to me. I did like 70, 79, I think. And yes, it does stick to my iron now and then. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other side as well, simply because I can. And it'll save me some video time. I'm going to try to make this as fast and easy as I possibly can. All right. fold this in half, mark it so I can see it, mark this center, and you can probably figure out the sizes, but the sizes are given on that PDF file that you can download. And it is something, you know, if you register to become a member, you can register for free and not have to pay anything, and just use points to download it. In fact, I will be putting a secret code in this video somewhere that you can use and download this pattern for 20,000 points. You'll be rewarded with 20,000 points. When you use the secret code, you'll get the points, and then you can go and redeem them. And it's free to sign up for the points account. But if you don't want to bother with points and all that, you can become a member. It's $95 forever, or it's $8.95 a month for 12 months. And then it's forever after that. You don't have to pay another penny. And this website, you know, I've had the website jpfun.com for a long time, 1998. So I'm here to stay. It's a crochet website, paper bead website, and now it's going to be quilting, because that's where my interest is in. And I've known how to sew for a long time, since I was a child. I just didn't do it for 20 years. Okay, so I'm going to go to the sewing machine, do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. My stitch length again will be 3.0, and I'm going to use a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll be right back. Stitching is done, and it's time to tug a little bit, because you tug just a little bit so that you can pull the fabric away from, and release glue, basically, that might have gotten the fabric stuck. Do this after every seam. All right, and after that is done, you want to set your seams like you normally would in any other quilting. And I like to do it on both sides. Not that it's really necessary. And then what I do is I line this up. And when you take it to the, you're going to do a zigzag stitch right here on both sides. And I'm going to go take both of them. I'm going to go do a zigzag stitch here and here. And since this is oversized, if you take a look how much it's oversized, if you're off a little bit, you might want to pull this forward just a little bit to make sure that you catch it all. The whole idea here is to have your fabric completely cover batting, because you're going to trim this off. So I'll be right back. I'll take this to the machine and do a zigzag stitch here. The zigzag settings, the stitch width should be 4.0, and the stitch, I take that back, the stitch length should be 4.0, and the stitch width needs to be 6.0. Okay, I'll be right back. Zigzag stitching is done. The next thing to do is you're going to flip these up and glue them down. So let me do that. And if you have any questions or comments about this method of quilting, I would love to see them in the comments, and I will answer them, I promise you. And if you have any suggestions for other blocks that you would like to see, I want to hear that too. And there is a poll in the YouTube community that I put up, and basically it's how do you want me to present the making of these quilt blocks. I've got two choices. One is, do you want to see a stop action type of thing with every step, with photos, you know, shots of live action, if you know what live action is, or do you want to see just me do the whole thing, fast forward it, and you see every step instead of a stop action with my hands in here and everything. Pretty much what what you see me doing now. It's just that I would be fast forwarding it with music, because that's what I've been doing for a few videos. The last one I did was a stop action type of thing. So if you go to that poll, go to the jpfun.com Julie A. Bolduc YouTube channel and go into community, you'll see the poll there. See, I'm a little off on this, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not going to matter. I'm a little close. It's going to be all right in the trimming. So, and then once you get the glue on there, you iron them down. And then I'm going to have to do some trimming to make it possible to do the other two triangles. So I'm going to trim here and here, here and here. So take away my thingy here, bring out this ruler, and since I know this block here is accurate, I'm just going to follow the lines of, or the edge of the block or the square, and just trim. I am not going to bother with taking these pieces of batting off until this first square is complete. I'm just trimming off the edges so that I can be prepared to put on the next two triangles. Okay, to do the next two triangles, and yes, I say okay a lot. I gotta stop doing that. Okay, see what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and do the next two triangles. And look for my center. Where is my little, there's my little ruler. Look for my center, mark it. Okay, so this time, that's exactly what I thought. Okay. Okay, see? There we go. There we go. One there. Now I could eyeball it, but I'm not going to take that chance. Let's make sure it's centered and put my glue on there. So basically, after I'm done with this initial round going around the square, it's going to be the same steps over and over and over again. So this time I'm just going to show you each finished square this time, just to try to make this video as short as possible. Okay, there's that side. Do the same thing with this. That looks centered to me. So the other day, I left this pen open overnight, and it still works fine. So it's a really good pen. I have an affiliate link on my website. Well, maybe not. Maybe I didn't put that there. But I do have an affiliate page on my website of products that I use. And it's got the rotary cutter. It's got some glue that I use. Has some of this. So if you want to go check it out, jpfun.com. And I'm doing the wrong one. That's okay, the glue won't dry on me. And I can see the fold. Okay, press that. Still not long enough. Should really leave it on for 10 seconds. Yep, that's lined up pretty good. Okay, do the other side. Again, mark my center. Fold this one in half, mark the center. Try not to pull on it too much because it is on the bias. Apply the glue. Yeah, I tend to sometimes overdo it a little bit with the glue. It doesn't matter, it works out in the end. And it will wash out, I promise you. So I've experimented with other batting, and in fact there was a less expensive jelly roll batting roll that I found that I made a quilt with, and it's a little bit stiffer than I think this one's going to be, because it was kind of stiff. It was weird. And then the very first quilt that I made, I used polyester batting that was from the inside of jewelry boxes, they're 2" by 8", and they were kind of lofty, and I used about 1,000 of those in that quilt because it's what I had when I got back into quilting. And I made a quilt for myself. It's on our guest room bed, and it's really, really stiff. It weighs about 7 pounds, so I won't be doing that again. But I wanted to get rid of the batting, and that's how I did it. Now thinking back, maybe I should have used that batting on, I don't know, something else. Dog bed maybe, I don't know. But I had to get rid of them. I had to get rid of them, and I had to start quilting again because I really missed it. And it ended up being a king-size quilt because my queen-size bed is it's a queen-size bed, but it's high up off the floor, so the drop is quite big. So that's why I made it a king-size bed, so it would be big enough. All right. Almost there. Time to take this to the sewing machine, and I will be right back. That stitching is done, and time to do the little tugging again, just to release the glue that might be stuck outside the seam allowance. There we go. Turn that over, do the same thing on the other side, and the same thing on the other side. And now I'm going to go ahead and press to set the seam. And the next step is to go ahead with the zigzag stitching on both sides, and hopefully I will be able to keep the machine from, you know, distorting it, but I don't think it'll matter. I mean, this will be fine. So I will be right back. Zigzag stitching is done. Let's see how I did. Actually, it didn't shift too bad this time. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and then I'll trim it up, and then I'll just go and do the rest of it. And I really want to know your opinion on the video itself. If you have any suggestions, I am definitely open to suggestions. And one thing I'm going to do before I trim it down is I'm going to do my quilting on it, because I want to make sure that once I trim it, it's accurate. So if you notice what I did with the quilting in the center, it's not perfect. It's a little off, and I'm okay with that. They're 1-inch squares. So what I'm going to do here is I'll go a 1/2 inch away from the seams, and then do another 1 inch away from that. And that should work. This is one of my favorite blocks. I really like making these. They're really not that hard. Okay, because this block is small enough, I can use this one to mark it, but I also use this because it's got good lines that I can actually see. You know, I basically would go like this, a ½ inch away, and then another inch away from that ½ inch line. But since this block, you know, that might actually be enough. In fact, I think instead of doing that, I might actually do something closer, like the width of my presser foot with my needle centered. I might just do that and then another inch away. Maybe make this one an inch away. I'm not sure. I want 1 inch apart. I'll do a ½ inch away from the seam and then 1 inch beyond that. So that'll be easy to mark. That should work. And do a ½ inch away. And don't worry, the ink will fade over time. So I'm going to go ahead and mark. I'm deviating a little bit from what I do with the other blocks, but that's definitely okay. One inch away. So that way there's something over here in the corner. Okay, trim that, or turn that. And then, yeah, this is a better ruler for drawing these straight lines, because that little one doesn't have the lines where I need them to be. I could have done a 3/4 inch away, but that wouldn't match what I've already done in the center. See, the lines are already fading. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and do my quilting lines. I'll be right back. Quilting is done. Now it's time to trim. So what I'm going to do is get my ruler here, this one here, and I'm going to make sure that this particular orange section here has ½ inch markings on it. So that's what I want to line up to, is those ½ inch markings. So I laid this ruler down here, and I'm going to stand up for just a second. Make sure that I'm lined up with my ½ inch here, here, and here. Looks like it's pretty square. Put my weight on it, not my weight, my weight's weight. Yeah, looks pretty good. Go ahead and trim it. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it around and do the other side. Again, lining up my ½ inch marks. And making sure that I'm straight here and I'm straight here, and I am. So again, I put my heavy-duty cast iron weight there. Now, if any of you have those old cast iron irons, the kind that would go on wood stoves, those are fantastic weights. I wish I had some. Okay, so this is ready for the next step. Pull this back over here. I'm going to sit back down. Okay, now the next step, I said okay again. Anyway, let's see if I can get through. Okay, did it again. Anyway, oh boy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the next round all the way around, because it's exactly the same, and I'll show it to you. And then I'll do the next one and I'll show it to you, and then I'll come back and do the final trim with you. I'll be back with the next round done. Then next round has been done, and now it just needs to be trimmed up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'd like to point a couple things out. I think my points are really good. See, I'm pointing out my points. Oh, okay. Yeah. Again, my feeble attempt at humor. All right, so what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to line up my 1/4 inch lines to these points here and trim them away. And that's, wow. I'm so glad that I cut my pieces bigger than they need to be. Wow. Okay, so make sure, there we go. I think we're right where I need to be. All right, time to trim. I really do need that weight. Makes a difference. It weighs about 4 pounds. It really makes a difference. All right. Turn this around. Do the other side. Again, line up my 1/4 inch lines. And my cut lines look pretty good. And put the weight on it. All right, so the next time I see you, the next round will be done. I believe that might be the last round, actually. So I'll be right back. So I have my rotating cutting mat out because I'm done with the block and I need to trim it up. So pull out my big square ruler here. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, I got all the quilting done. Just needs to be trimmed. The points are pretty good. And, you know, I hope you don't mind not seeing the whole thing, because it would have just been a repeat of everything I did from the beginning, centering them and all that stuff. It was all the same. So go ahead and see if I can line up my 1/4 inch seam allowances all the way around, because that's what I'm trying to line up. Let's see, pull this one over right there and spin this around. Looks like we're right on. So see why I made all those triangles bigger than I needed them to be? So that way there'll be plenty to trim off. Okay, so I'm going to put my weight on there. And we're at 1/4 here. 1/4 there. We're good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it. There's one. There's two. Almost there. All right, and one more. Okay, and the block is done, except for the stay stitching I'm going to put around it. The quilting is all done. Basically, it's a done block. And that is called 12 triangles. And the economy block would be basically this section here. And then the diamond and the star would be here. But this is 12 triangles. Don't know why. Well, it's because it's got 12 triangles. But anyway, so I wanted to thank you for watching. And watch for the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you click on that little bell so you'll be notified. And in your settings, if you haven't been getting notified by YouTube about your subscriptions, that you're, you know, the channels you're subscribed to, go into your settings and look under notifications and see if you're getting notifications. So, because I just recently found that out myself. So, because they stopped sending them to emails for whatever reason. Okay, until next time, thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.